Today, I'm having a full moon chat with a special guest on the Moon Manifesting podcast. Please welcome Sasha Andersson from the Pagan Homemaker, who is joining me to talk about using the moon as a guide for self-care practices, especially for mums. I'm so excited to have Sasha on the podcast today, as she's been a member of the Soul Aligned Business Mastermind, and as a result, she's found more clarity and direction with her business, which we'll be talking a bit more about in today's podcast episode. So in today's episode, you will discover the importance of self-care time, as well as how to schedule your own self-care practices in alignment with the moon cycle. Sasha is a Gemini sun, Aquarius moon, and Leo rising, and she lives in South Australia with her toddler twins and husband. Hey there, Sasha. Welcome to the Moon Manifesting podcast. I am so excited to have you as a guest here today.
Hi. I'm so excited to be on here.
So, Sasha, I know that you've been like a long time fan of the Moon Manifesting podcast and pretty much everything that I've done. So I am like really excited to actually have you on the other side of the podcast and to record an episode with you. So
I'd be lying if this wasn't like a goal of mine, like from, if we go back, probably since the start of the podcast, and if you had a guess, I was like, oh, maybe I could do that one day.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's funny how those things work out. I've had the same sort of thing before with podcasts that I've really wanted to be on, and then it happens. You manifested it.
It was work, don't get me wrong, but we're going to talk about that. I'm excited.
Absolutely. So, Sasha, what I would love to talk to you about today is the moon and self-care, how the moon cycle can help us as busy mums, because, well, I'm a mum of 4, you are a mum of twin toddlers, and I know like we're both really busy running our own businesses and everything, as well as all the other busy things that we do in our lives, studying and parenting and everything. How can we look after ourselves with the moon as our guide? So what I'd love to chat about first is, how do you use the moon cycle to help you find time for self-care?
Yeah. I mean, the most immediate thing that comes to mind is that I haven't been lately, which is I've had a rough, probably nearly month now. And the main reason for that is because I haven't been using the moon for self-care. Because this is a practice that I was first introduced to by you and the podcast. I have really, it was so influential in my life that it has literally become part of my business offerings. But I haven't been doing it. So the main thing, I guess, for me has been honoring void moon times. So I didn't even know this thing existed. I think I'd been downloading your moon manifesting calendar for a while, and I love the way that it suggests things to do during the certain days and the way that when the moon moves through different signs. But for me, I think what's been more influential and important is when to not do, like the times that we don't do things. I'm a Gemini sun like you, so we go. As you said, I've got twins, I've got businesses, I've got a house, I've got a dog, and juggling all of that's really hard. And especially because we spend so much time on our phones, so much time on screens with all these online businesses. So finding, for me, it's been really important to learn to stop and to not do. And the void moon, is a extremely convenient thrice weekly pause. And you don't even have to do all of them, because sometimes they're at night. So I find it a really convenient way to I guess for those who don't know what the void moon is, it's as the moon moves through each sign, and there's 12 signs of the zodiac and all that sort of thing. As it moves through each sign, eventually it makes its final angle. So it makes its final the last interplay, the last contract it has with the other signs in the sky, with other luminaries in the sky, and then it doesn't do anything else, doesn't make any other aspects until it enters the new sign. And this period of time is called the void moon. It's a time when we consider that all of our contracts have been done, all the moon's contracts have been completed, so now we're resting before we start our next phase. kind of like a little mini dark moon, I guess, every couple of days, every 2 to 3 days it does this. And it's different lengths of time every time too, depending on where, you know, how late that last angle the moon makes is. So whether, you know, if it's the last angle is at 29 degrees, it's going to be a very short void moon compared to if the last angle is at 16 degrees. So the shortest void moon period I've ever seen is 6 minutes, I think.
Yeah.
And the longest one was something like 42 hours. So, you know, sometimes that 6 minutes is just a really, really important time, just honor, like put the phone off completely and to meditate for 6 minutes straight, as a real deliberate period of self-care. Or for your longer ones, you know, planning nothing in that time. You know, that time is going to be a family outing or a catch up with friends or a, you know, a break from business and that kind of thing. And really honoring those times. My big one is screen time. I'm really quite deliberate, or I try to be. I haven't been, but really quite deliberate to none of us are in front of screens at that time. So we're outside, we're playing, like me and my kids, obviously. I'm not working. I've definitely tried to, you know, if I've got work to do and I see a void moon period is coming up, I get really productive for the 15 minutes before I'm going, no, I've got to get this done before this void moon period starts. Because I've had errors and glitches. A bit like Mercury retrograde in these void moon times, you know. I've been at markets where for that 2 hours the moon was void. I didn't make a sale. So then there's times to honor that. Like I can't really honor a void moon when I'm actively working, you know, at a market. There's not much you can do about that. But, you know, finding ways to deliberately honor that, whether it's going to bed early, doing meditation, turning the phone off, increases my productivity at other times because I'm making sure that I'm spending quality time with my children. I'm making sure that I'm getting outside. I'm making sure that I'm not working. I'm making sure there are times where I actually switch off. And I find that really, really hard to do, which is why when I didn't follow my own rules, I burnt out.
Yeah. And I feel like what you're saying there is really important, that we do find those regular times for self-care as mums. And I really love how you've like adopted the void of course moon times as that intentional time for like getting away from screens, like for both you and your kids, and to have that intentional time where you can just do nothing and reset and pause before moving on to whatever's next. So that's incredible, that you're using like that aspect of the moon cycle in such a practical way in your life.
We talk about like maybe more time for ourselves, because I'm very much a big believer that like I'm the most important thing, and if I don't put myself first, then I can't show up best I can for my kids. Like I know the more burnt out I am, the shorter my fuse with my kids, for example. So I think it's really important as mums to realize we are number one. No one else is going to put us number one. We have to do it ourselves. Whether you've got 2 kids or 4 kids or 8 dogs, like you have to put yourself first. And yeah, you know, trying to say like I'm going to have a self-care day, or I'm going to, you know, do nothing on the full moon or something like that is not really frequent enough in my opinion. So having this, like it can be thrice weekly time that's like, it's, and it can be my time, like especially if it's after kids have gone to bed, I might go to bed early. I might sometimes I might watch TV, like I might be going to watch a movie for this time, you know. Generally I try not to, because, you know, especially at night you want to bring the melatonin up and go to sleep. But finding that way to give myself the care that I need, because I know the better I feel, the better I'm going to show up for my family.
Yeah, that's right.
And having literally that frequently. So yeah, I think the frequency is really important.
Yeah. So I guess like what you're saying, which kind of was like the answer to my next question, was for like time poor mums, for mums who, like you and me, we have our hands full with kids and businesses and everything. Like what's your tip for helping those time poor mums find that time for self-care? But yeah, like I said, you kind of answered that.
Yeah, I think though, like you've just got to make it. If you said if you don't do it, no one's going to give it to you. No one else is going to go, oh, you know, your partner's not going to go, hey hun, the moon is void, do you want me to do the dishes? No one's going to do that. It's not real life.
No.
I have gone to a point with my husband where I can say, hey, the moon is void, the kids are in bed, I'm going to have a bath and read a book, you're on call. Gotten to that point, but I've still, you know, you've got to be the one that sees it coming and puts the time aside and honors that time for yourself. It's, you hear a lot of that's just real simple, like if it's not in the calendar, you're not going to do it. You'll put your kids' play dates in, you'll put your appointments in, book time for yourself. It's the same with exercise. You see a lot of people be like, if you want to exercise, you have to make time for it. You need to schedule it into your calendar. Same thing. You need to schedule void moon chats into your calendar. And some of them are literally, we're talking like 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Most of them are under 6 hours.
Yeah.
We're not talking about very long here. Like 1 to 4 hours is about average. So you don't even have to do, only something for yourself in that time, but it's about making sure that time is spent in positive ways that uplift and build you up rather than just programming on as normal. But if you just don't, if you don't do it, it's not going to happen.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. Yeah, it is really important to schedule that time in and make it a priority for ourselves. So is there an easy way to find out when the moon is void of course each month or each week?
I have a calendar. This has been my kind of way to help myself and to help you guys as well, because I think this is really simple. Even if it's just as simple as like, here's the hour and a half for the day. So I do have a calendar. I have that in two major time zones currently. So one for Australian time zones and one for the US, which is obviously everywhere up and down the whole, northern and southern. That's because that's my market audience so far. So that's nice and easy for you in those two areas. Again, like I said, I haven't been doing this for myself. So I'm working on this for me, for you, for everyone else. But yeah, it will list the time it starts, the time it ends, and how long it goes for, so that you can kind of plan ahead and go, I've got 6 minutes, That's an easy one, if it's a one that's at night, go to bed early. If it's one that's in the morning, can you sleep in that day, or can you have a slow start and that kind of thing. So I'm working towards putting together more resources for this as well, but that's the main one, is that I have a downloadable monthly calendar.
Oh, that is so handy. I will put a link for Sasha's Void of Course Moon calendar in the show notes for this episode, so you can all go ahead and download that and use that. My pleasure. It is really just an amazing way to have it like really black and white. Like, these are the times that I'm going to reserve for my self-care. So I really love how that's what you're promoting. So my next question is leading on to one of your offerings, which is all about helping mums to soak up some juicy self-care time. Sasha is actually running a retreat later in this year. So Sasha, would you like to tell us a bit about your retreat? Because I am really excited about this.
I would love to, because I'm really excited about this too. This idea, actually, you gave me this idea, Kyra. And it was only, we were in the sixth module, so the 12th week of your Solo Online Business Mastermind, which is your 6-month business coaching program. In the very, very first week, when we're all looking at, astrological charts and kind of where the heavy hitters are in our charts, you took a look at my chart, and I'm quite 12th house heavy. And something you said was, have you ever considered running retreats? I totally scoffed at this idea, but straight, I put the whole thing together in a question that I was going to various passions. Gemini, no surprises there. Obviously from my experience as a mum, but also my experience as becoming a mum. I have a lot of interest in women's hormone health, endocrine function. I have investment in birth work. I am invested in manifestation, moon magic, astrology, tarot. I'm a student aromatherapist, so I have an aromatherapy business. I've nearly finished my qualification there. All these different things. And one of the reasons that I went into group coaching was because I was like, I have so many interests. How do I pull this together? And the retreat did the whole thing. So working with your business coaching program has just like pulled all of my various interests and quirks together into really quite lovely coherent whole. So the Spiritual Homemakers Retreat is going to be running as close to the full moon in Taurus as I could get, logically and reasonably, because that's of course a Tuesday during term time. For all my mums, I was a teacher, so in past life. So yeah, trying to make that in the most accessible way possible. But I'll be running a retreat, pulling together all these different things. So my goal is really to help mums to heal themselves, mind, body, and soul. I want to give you all the tools that I've used. And I know that not every tool that I've used is going to be the right tool in your toolbox, but I think that it's fairly evident from anyone who's known me for a few years the massive transformation I've been on, from infertile to children, and which is all endocrine function health based, in terms of a spiritual practice that I've had for more than half my life but haven't lived, developing the confidence codes around that, and really stepping into my authenticity, as a mum, as a woman, as a entrepreneur, as a witch, all those things. Even if you're none of those things, don't aspire to be those things, the tools are still going to help you, because there's all things that we could do to improve our physical health. There's all things we can do to improve our mental health. So I'm pulling all together at this retreat. I've got an expert in hormone health coming along to talk to us really about our body's physical needs from a really holistic perspective, really, but also really really hands-on and tangible, real solid endocrine women's health support. I have got someone who's a bit of an expert in aligned menstruation coming along to talk to us. Kyra's going to be there, and I'm so happy to finally meet you in person.
I know, me too.
Do you want to quickly talk about your menstruation that you're going to be bringing to my retreat?
Absolutely. Well, yes. So I will be at Sasha's Spiritual Homemaker retreat. And I will be hosting a workshop about menstruation. So the menstruation cycle, in alignment with the moon cycle, how to line up your menstruation with the moon cycle, as well as understanding those different cycles in our lives as women, how they both affect us in different ways, and seeing the connections between that. So I'm really excited about hosting that workshop as part of the retreat, because it's something that I feel women really need to be aware of, understanding our own cycles.
I'm really passionate about that as well. So we've got that physical endocrine stuff. We've got the menstruation, moving into a bit more of the woo, working with the moon. I'm going to be doing some work around what we're talking about, using the moon cycle for our own self-care, using astrology for our own self-care. I will have I'm not going to announce anything yet. This is still in the works, getting worked out, but looking at getting an expert in manifestation and authenticity and confidence codes coming along to do a session with us as well, and manifestation and breaking down our limiting beliefs and believing in ourselves as women. There's going to be a body positivity photo shoot to really I think that's an announcement. I don't think I've told anyone that. You guys are the first to hear about that. That's still in the works too, but there's going to be body positivity photo shoot. It's because I want us to be loving our bodies and all the unique parts of it that we have. There's going to be amazing food. I've got an amazing local business doing some of the catering. There's going to be daily yoga again. You're going to be hosting the yoga.
I will be.
morning yoga each morning, which is just gonna just set us up really beautifully every day. We'll be hosting a women's circle. I've learned about women's circles from the interest I have in birth work, and so I want to bring that really safe space for women. This really is about empowering women, specifically mothers, to honor themselves, mind, body, and soul, to turn up for themselves best, as I said earlier, because no one else is going to do it for you. You have to put yourself first. And that's what this retreat is for. This retreat is an investment in you. It's an investment in yourself. And I'm going to reward you with that. You're going to get a 30-minute Reiki healing as part of this. Everyone's going to get a Reiki healing during this. Some healing, some group healing. There's also going to be time so we're going to be on beautiful Adnyamathanha country in the Flinders Ranges, just a chance to even just be in nature. The phone service out there is really sketchy, so
that's awesome.
no phone interruptions. Your husband can't
Yeah,
call you to whinge about the kids. You're going to be out bush living your best life for 2 nights.
absolutely. Yeah, that just sounds so magical, and really what so many of us mums are craving. Like, we need that time, we need that space where we can just find that dedicated self-care, that healing, that connection with other women in a safe space. So I'm
And that
really,
connection
really
is a big
excited about
part
this.
of it. To find the
Yeah.
support. One thing I've noticed from my interest in mostly through birth work is that we don't have very good supports and connections. People say it takes a village to raise a child, but it actually takes a village to support the mother, and we don't have villages anymore. And we might have, we often have a lot of friends and a lot of mum friends and that sort of thing, but many of them aren't aligned with our beliefs and our practices. I co-sleep and breastfeed my twins still. They're nearly 2. That's not a normal, I wouldn't say, it's not a normal, it's a more, the crunchier thing than many people are doing in their parenting practices. I don't actually know anyone who's still breastfeeding twins at age 2. So to find people who are more aligned, and I'm not saying that you have to do that or don't have to do that, I don't care. What I want is that there's going to be an inclusive open space where you're going to meet other women who are on a similar wavelength to you. So even if you don't have children yet, there's going to be a great place to get some healing and some help, and then support for when you do get to this point. Very small group of women who you're going to live with. We're all going to be in a beautiful house together for 2 nights. You're going to live with them, and they're going to be able to be a support for you when it comes to that, whether your first child or your next child or anything in your parenting journey. There's going to be women who are in the same place or aligned with you, so that we've got support and connection, especially after the last couple of years, to meet in person.
Yeah.
And actually hug people and have physical connection is something we're all missing so much. And I think we know we need it, but we don't realize how much we need it.
Yeah.
And I think I'm going to be the same. Like, I'm going to get to this place with all you wonderful women, and I'm not going to quite be ready for how much that connection is going to change me and how much that connection is going to change all of us. Like, I'm planning it for that, but I also know that I'm not going to be ready for just how much that brings to the table and how much that brings up for us, which is why we'll have that circle. So we have that place to really support one another and hug and cry and love and laugh. And
and we really need that. We so need that.
And as I said, like, we're going to do this, and we're going to walk away from this feeling refreshed, and we're going to turn up better for our families, for our children, for our fur babies. We're going to turn up better in our jobs, because we were talking here a lot about being a mum and being a business owner, but you don't have to be a mum or a business owner to find benefit from working with the void moon. Even if it's a 3-hour void moon while you're working your 9 to 5, there's ways of bringing that in so that you are more productive during the rest of your time.
That's right.
We're talking to ourselves at the moment, obviously, but there's ways of making this fit no matter what season of life you're in, or even if you're a bloke, there's definitely ways of building this in.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think, like, the main takeaway from our conversation is the importance of taking that time for self-care, and that using the moon void of course times as a way to kind of structure that into your life. But most importantly, just making that time for it, whether it's coming to Sasha's retreat or following the void of course the moon times, or however else works for you, my darling listeners. Finding that way that you can have that self-care time and making it a priority.
That's exactly right. Like, my number one message would be, if you want to feel this way, if you want to feel abundant and successful and prosperous, you have to make time for it.
That's
right. The same with anything that you want, any intention you want to set, anything you want to manifest, you have to do it. You have to smash your limiting beliefs, and you have to make time.
That's
right. And if you don't make time for you, like I said, no one's going to make time for you. So the void of course moon times are a really concrete, black and white, easy, especially if you just download my calendar, to list out exactly when you're going to stop and think, hold on, what am I doing for myself for the next 90 minutes? What am I doing for the self tonight? The void of moon starts at 8:30. I'm going to go to bed early. It's as simple as that.
That's right.
I say this, of course, I haven't been doing it for the last month, but this is my big lesson at the moment. You know, I don't want to start practicing what I preach.
Yeah, no, but wherever we're at is always, you know, perfect for our journey. Like you need to kind of fall off that track to realize just how much you need that void of course self-care time. Yeah,
absolutely.
No, that's perfect. Yeah. So, Sasha, was there anything else that you'd like to share before we finish our full moon chat?
Oh, I was prepared for all the other questions. I didn't really think about this one. No, really just making time for you, mind, body, and soul. And sometimes that's taking a bath, and sometimes that's going to bed early.
Yeah.
One of the things I've been thinking this week has been that nothing replaces sleep and adequate hydration.
Yeah.
So even if all you're doing in the void moon times is having a nap, you are supporting your physical body, and we have to start with our physical body first. Someone recently posted Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and who knows that, starting from like literal, physical, basic, like if you do not have enough sleep, enough water, decent food, nothing else will eventuate. And this is where we talk about putting ourselves first, getting your basic needs understood, and then from there, that's the catapult to business success, spiritual connection, healthy relationships, raising strong, healthy kids. It all starts with looking after yourself first.
Yeah, that's so true. That's so true. Well, thank you so much for being on the Moon Manifesting podcast today, Sasha. It has been such a pleasure to talk with you, to learn more about the moon cycle and self-care, and of course, your amazing retreat. To get on the waitlist for Sasha's retreat, there will be a link in the show notes below as well. So if you can get to South Australia in November this year, definitely check that out, because I'm going to be there and I'm so looking forward to it as well.
I'm so excited. Thank you so much for having me on, Kyra. It really is such an honor. Like I said, I've kind of wanted to be on this for such a long time. And for me, it was like, okay, I've got to grow myself. I need to grow myself so that I am worthy to be on your beautiful podcast that I listen to every single week, like religiously.
Yeah. Oh, thank you so much for being here, because it's been such an honor to have you on the podcast and talking on the podcast.